Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. The channel's called Ratchet. My name's Andrew, and on today's episode, I get you caught up on the latest progress and we carry on with the panelling. Run the title. Welcome to the channel if you're new. If you're not, thank you for tuning back in. If this is the first video that you have seen, make sure you click on the link up in the top right hand corner, and that will take you through to all of the videos that I've released previously. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss any videos that I do release in the future. In today's video, I'm going to be getting you caught up with how the interior panelling stands at the moment. I've been cracking on for the last week or so, trying to make some good headway into that. I've got a couple of panels that I still need to make for the passenger side, so you guys can join me for the ride as I try and make that. So I hope you can see that some good progress has been made in the last week or so. So let me run you through in detail what I've actually done. So let's start with the rear bulkhead, as this is where the majority of the work has happened. You can see that I've cut in the rear window. The rear bulkhead panel, I've made myself a new bulge for the water pump, which has come out really nice. I'm very happy with how that's turned out. I think making it, so previously I made it out of 1.5mm alley. This is made out of 1.2. So just having that 0.3 difference made it so much easier to form and get finished nicely. I've also finally got fixed in place the lower bulkhead panel. Basically I had to do some remedial work to that because, in all honesty, I'd cocked up. I had drilled out the old rivets along this bottom edge in a too large a drill bit. So I had to go along that edge, welding up the holes and then re-drilling them to the correct size. So that was really bloody annoying. You can see the passenger side is coming on nicely. It's coming on so much quicker now I've got the templates. So it was just a matter of flipping the template over and then cutting the new panel for the passenger side. I've also got the hole cut for the shift linkage, so now that's run through and mocked up in place. This is going to be a complete dry build before I do rivet and seal anything in place. I'd hate to try and cut panels and bits and pieces when they're all bonded and riveted in place. And then moving round to the driver's side rear panel, you'll see I've got the hole cut for the gear linkage and then also the hole for the lower tie bar. It was an absolute pain in the arse trying to get these into the correct location and the correct size, and it took an absolute age, but I'm glad it's done. What I'm trying to do is get the panels finished up to a decent stage before moving on to the next, because it would be really easy just to smash through all of the paneling, getting it onto the body, but still leaving 1,000,001 little jobs here and there that would need to be done later in the day. So I'm trying to get the fit and finish, trying to get all the little annoying bits and pieces done and out the way before I then have to move on. One thing that I think is good to mention now is, in fact, the plans for the interior finish have changed somewhat. Previously, it was going to be fully carpeted. Absolutely everything was going to be sound deadened and then carpeted to give it kind of like a plush GT feel. But because now I'm repaneling everything, and I'm hoping it's going to end up at a quality that I'm going to be really happy with, I've now decided that most of it is going to be left as brushed. Well, it's not really brushed, it's more of a satin finish. Satin aluminium. The only piece of carpet that's going to be in the car is actually on the floor and then on the bulkhead. So instead of the ABS panelling that I made for the footwells, that's now going to be remade in aluminium. There was no way I could have ever foreseen this additional work. So I may as well turn all of this mess into some sort of positive. I think you understand the point I'm trying to make, is the fact that, you know, you get given lemons, so let's make lemonade. So that's the plan for the interior now, just to go all out really. There's still a couple of panels, as mentioned, that I need to make. Here, well, 3 panels, the inner and outer panel along the top, and then the pane in the backside panel that cloaks around the back. So I think without any further ado, I'll crack on with them.
Yeah, I've been running and running to keep it 100. It's all that I wanted, but lately I don't get the stomach. The higher the summit, the harder the plummet. They know me all over this planet. I'm just a man and I can't understand it. Proud that I win and I did it myself. Probably wouldn't if I got the help. Hearing subliminals all on myself. Feel like I'm breaking, I'm falling to hell. Told me I'm sick and I tell her, oh well. Rather be dead than to know that I failed. Live for the chase, life is a race. I'm out of space, I'ma get on my face. I got a taste, want the whole plate. Finna get laced if you step out of place. Like, first off, you don't run nothing. All talking, your team bluffing. My squad, we all dream crushing. We ain't rushing, no discussion. All I know is us made for this. Paid for this, yeah, slave for this. Been down and I'ma get it right. Get on sight like. Been down and I'ma get it right. Get on sight like. And I'ma get it right, dead on sight like.
Right, the reason I'm welding over these holes and not transferring them through to the new panel is because when I first got the car, I remade these end panels because they finished short from where the Golf flare started. So anyway, I remade these, but because I'd never done anything like it before in my life, I actually used the wrong size rivets. So these are 4.8 rivets, whereas the other ones I'm using are 3.8, something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to weld these up, and then when I come round to making the new panel at the back, I'll re-drill these holes to the correct 4mm hole for the smaller rivets. So it's an error that I caused that I'm now having to fix myself.
Never really know when you're gonna go. Why you gotta put another foot in front of yours? Bury them toes, carry them close. I was never one to care about my mentos. I was like froze, now I'm on floor. Give me that smoke, but I can't get high. We do the most, here to inspire. Doing what I'm supposed, but I can't get tired. Run for your life, ever run nothing. All talking, your team bluffing. My squad, we all dream crush it. We ain't rushing, no discussion. All I know is I was made for this, paid for this, yeah, slave for this. Been down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like. First off, you don't run nothing. All talking, your team bluffing. My squad, we all dream crush it. We ain't rushing, no discussion. All I know is I was made for this, paid for this, yeah, slave for this. Been down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like. Been down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like. Down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like.
So those are the holes on the back edge of the outer seal welded up. You'll see I DA'd them down just to take out some of the height difference in between the raw steel and the powder coat. Also, I've welded up the top holes along this portion of the chassis. This is because when I two-piece the inner and outer portion of the upper panel, I'll obviously need 2 rows of rivets, so I know from doing the driver's side to get those out the way to start with. So now what I can do is bring over the pattern, see how it fits, transfer the couple remaining holes that I am keeping, and then start chopping it up out of some alley. Right, so here is the template used for the driver's side. So all I'm going to do in the first instance is lay it over and just see how it fits and make any amendments and tweaks. Basically, you can see that I fine-tune the gaps just by adding lengths of masking tape to it, just to make up any tricky areas that I couldn't get first time round with the cardboard. It's really simple when you kind of get your head around it and actually come up with an idea that works. Right, so I've got the cardboard template in place, and the only couple places that it needs a small tweak is just taking off a small portion there so it wraps around nicely with the front panel. But generally, everywhere else, it fits an absolute treat. So what I'll do is I'll tape this in place. I'll then mark through the 3 holes on this side. 4 holes, and then take that and transfer it through to a piece of aluminium. So let's crack on with that one. So what you'll see that I did is, with the side of a pencil, like I described in the previous video, just rubbed across the top of the bracing to then pick up where the existing holes are. And from there I can just centre punch through the cardboard onto the aluminium, and that will get me the transferal of holes over absolutely perfectly.
I'm cutting dice, look at these eyes, they're not here to please you. There was a time you could be mine, before all that you put me through. I knew that you were trouble, but I don't think you were bad.
So that is the template marked out on the aluminium with the key points for the existing holes. So now I can basically remove the cardboard template, finalise any straight edges and actually cut it out of the aluminium.
You can watch me go, cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. You can watch me go, cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me.
This panel has been a real tester. From when you saw me cutting it out of the alley sheet about 2 seconds ago, I then started filing it and test fitting. I've not recorded the work since then because it was just test fit, file, test fit, file, tweak here, tweak there. And yeah, it's just been a real pain in the arse. But thankfully, I can sort of show you how it sits at the moment, and we get in there very slowly. What you'll see along the back edge is this piece of strip that I have tucked underneath to then fold over this return edge, mainly because I have my extension piece which then fits up in the inside, and then this fits over the top. So to give me that panel thickness, I use this strip just as a gauge. Now, what I have started doing is, rather than trying to use the metal folder on the bench, I've actually been clamping the piece to the chassis and then just folding it over and then dressing the edge with a hammer and dolly. And, well, both ways work. Just this way, I've got more chance of the holes remaining lined up and getting my fold in the exact place. So what I can move on to now is getting the holes along this edge marked up, and also the holes along the outer edge of the chassis. Right, so what I am going to do is just completely cheat and use the holes that I set out for the driver's side and just transpose those through to the passenger side. So I'll get even spacings on both panels that will match side to side.
Look at these eyes, they're not here to please you. There was a time you could be mine before all that you put me through. I knew that you were trouble, but I don't think you were bad. I'm living in this bubble and it makes you so mad. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me.
Right, so as you can see, now drilled and clear coat in place. I'm going to leave this back edge. I'm not going to drill those holes into the chassis yet, because what I want to do is the panel that returns around there, I want to drill through that and the chassis all in one go, so I don't get any movement in any of the holes doing the panel separate. So what I can get onto now is making the inner panel. So I've actually changed my mind about what panel I'm going to make next. Let me explain why. So initially I'd said that I'm going to make this top piece next, but in actual fact I'm going to make the rear closing piece, mainly because it will be far more difficult to create the angled piece to abut nicely against the top piece than it would be to make this first and then make the flat panel over and cut the angle to suit, if that makes sense. So what I've done is use the template from the driver's side and transferred that through onto a piece of aluminium. You'll notice that I did do the template on the wrong side, but I think in the grand scheme it doesn't really matter. So I've got the metal folder set up, so now I can form the folds necessary here and one along here and give it a test fit in the car. So clamped into place for a very first test fit. I purposefully left this edge slightly long just in case. So now that edge can be finalised and trimmed back. As per the driver's side, I need to put a crease in this panel just to take out the bow. And then yeah, we'll just continue to progress this, getting it fit and finish, drilled, as with all of the other panels. So after a good couple of hours working on the passenger side, I have pretty much got it to a stage to leave it. Inner panel done, dressed over the back panel really nicely. I've Scotch Brighted the back panel, and this is basically how all of the other panels are going to look, which I know I keep saying, but I think it's going to look pretty smart. Got the piece cut out for the lower tie bar, so that's all sorted. Outer panel all cut out, fit to shape, everything drilled. So yeah, that is basically the process that I've been following for everything else on the interior. So I hope that gives you a little insight of the work that's gone into getting to the stage where I'm at now. So that basically wraps up this episode. If you have liked what you've seen, make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss any future content that I do release. You can check out more regular updates on my Instagram, which is Ratchet GT40. If you do have any questions or comments, leave them below. It's always good to check out what you've got to say. I'm thinking about doing a Q&A at some point in the future, so if you do have any questions about the car that I've not already covered, then by all means get in contact either through the comment section or via my Instagram. Coming up in the next episode, I'm going to be making a start at revising how the fuel tanks are mounted, and also progressing with my idea of how to make the hidden battery on the passenger side. So I think that's going to be quite a fun one that I still need to get my head around. I will catch you next time.